We just talk entertainment. Share and subscribe.
Hey guys, welcome to Entertainment Talk Nation. This is Rob. This video, we're going to do our review for the first episode of Season 5 of The Walking Dead, No Sanctuary. So, first of all, bear with me. I'm recovering from a bit of a bad case of the flu. So if I sound a little different than my other videos, that's why. But, whoa, this has to be probably the best opening episode of this series so far, in my opinion. Very, very well done episode. A lot for one episode. So for those of you who have not seen the episode yet, you do not want to see this video. I am going to spoil this episode rotten. So I just want to give you guys a heads up. So we pretty much pick up from last year. I mean, these guys are trapped in the cart. Carol and Tyrese aren't there yet. But a lot of things, the cogs quickly go into motion right as you get a little hint right in the beginning of what happened with Gareth and his crew at Terminus years ago. And they started off very much like Rick and his crew, to be good people, wanted to help and bring people in until somebody took advantage of the situation and turned them into what they were today. Then it turns into Rick and his group basically getting ready for the doors to open, but obviously you can tell that Gareth and his team are pretty experienced in dealing with what Rick and his group were preparing for, which was an attack as soon as the doors opened. So they were very wise to open the ceiling door, for lack of a better term, and drop in a flash grenade and pretty much take them all by surprise. Then we go into what I would call the butcher room. They lined everybody up, and this is where pretty clearly, I mean, everybody knew at this point that these guys are cannibals, but pretty clearly, if you didn't think so by this point in the show, then you got your confirmation. We got a look at last year's missing character, and I don't remember his name. I know that he does play the Penguin on Gotham now, but we saw him. Everybody was curious as to what happened to him last year after his girlfriend was shown being eaten by walkers. Obviously, he must have headed up to Terminus thinking that was his best option. He was captured, and unfortunately, he bit the dust. And when I speculated on this character earlier in the year, I thought that he would die at some point. I just thought he would have a more heroic death. He didn't stand a chance. He did not have a chance. They had him tied up, pig style. They knocked him out with a bat and then slit his throat. Goodbye. And they did that to about the first three guys, and Glenn was next on the list until Gareth came in and started taking a head count, I believe, and was sound like he was taking inventory, basically. And these guys were ready to get butchered. They were ready to get butchered. They were going to get butchered. And right around that time, a big explosion took place. They go back a little bit in the episode, but this time from Tyrese and Carol's perspective, they show them heading to Terminus. They run into a herd. They hide from the herd, and the herd starts heading towards Terminus because some of the people at Terminus are taking out a small fleet of zombies that were already there, and there's gunfire. Carol uses this to her advantage, but before that, she runs into another person that's part of Terminus, and apparently they're spread out pretty well. They have people in different areas in the perimeter of Terminus, on the outer perimeter, I would say, who once a herd comes to Terminus, what they do is they set off fireworks to attract the herd in separate directions. Very clever. However, she takes this guy and she overhears him talking about basically Michonne and Carl, referring to Michonne as the samurai and Carl as the kid. And Carol takes him captive. She goes ahead to infiltrate the base. Tyrese stays behind with Judith to watch this guy. And that, I mean, from this point forward, some really crazy events. First of all, Carol is just continuing to impress in terms of a character. Here's a woman who pretty much goes commando. She walks into the damn base. I wouldn't say walk in. She walks to the perimeter and she sees that there's some zombies there, some people, killing them at the gate. She notices the herd that she almost ran into heading into Terminus. She waits. She fires on a big tank. She waits. And she lights up one of those firecracker rockets, fireworks, I should say, that the guy had right into the tank, blowing everything up, opening up the gate, blowing up some walkers, and then some walkers catching fire, and the walkers head into Terminus. At this point, they flash back to Gareth and the crew inside the butcher room, and this is kind of where the episode catches up with itself. From that point forward, it's just all about escaping and taking out as many walkers as you can on the way out. Rick and his group get together. I don't want to say all of them. Mainly at this point, it was Bob, Rick, Glenn, and Daryl. They were all together. They head out. They start taking out walkers. And Rick's whole MO is much different now. as they're doing this, you can hear somebody in one of the other containers, and Glenn is all about, hey, let's get that guy out of there. And Rick's like, no, let's just keep going. And then Glenn's like, is that who we are now? That we haven't lost who we are we? And then Rick reluctantly is like, okay, let's let him out. Glenn lets the guy out. Turns out to be a psychopath. He was in there by himself the whole time. He's not threatening. He's lost it. He's got like tattoos on his face, and who knows how long he's been in there. They've just left him there neglected. And he's completely oblivious to what's going on around him, to the point that he just go ahead and gets bitten by the other walker. Another indication of Rick's new MO is when they escaped the butcher's room, they killed they killed the two guys who were the butchers, basically. And when Bob was about to impale their head, what does Rick do? Let him turn. He said Rick would never do that. This is a first. So he's on some new shit. So they're running through Terminus. Meanwhile, Carol is infiltrating the different rooms in different parts of Terminus, looking for anything. And then she comes across Rick's watch. She comes across Daryl's crossbow. And then she comes across Mary. And Mary pretty much initially has her dead to rights, until Carol just pulls off some old Resident Evil Code Veronica style thing, where she drops to the floor and grabs her gun and shoots at Mary and distracts Mary. And then she has Mary dead to rights and starts interrogating her. And then it just got crazy. Mary's there talking or whatever, or, not saying anything. Carol wants to know where they are. Carol shoots her in the leg, and she's like, where are they? And I'm like, this is some real crazy, like Carol is on some other shit. And I love it. I love it. I love it. This whole crew this year, it's going to be different. So finally, after all that, Rick and the crew, they go back to the cart. They get the rest of the team. The rest of the team is fighting their way out. They all hop the fence, head back to Rick's, where he stashed his weapons last year. And Rick's all about going back in there and finishing the job. And obviously this makes a lot of sense, because remember, in the past, when he hasn't finished the job, it's come back to bite him in the ass. Case in point, what happened to Herschel last year with the governor. Never went back to finish the governor. So therefore, governor came back, kills Herschel. They lose the prison. This time he's all about going back there and finishing the job, which was a big debate until Carol came into the picture. And the first thing that happened is Daryl went and embraced her. They were hugging each other real tightly. And even not so surprisingly, but even a little surprisingly, Rick was very happy to see her. And I think it's because even though he didn't want her around when he sent her away, he still cares for Carol. He still knows Carol did a lot. So I think to see Carol alive for him was a good feeling. And that's why he embraced her. And plus, he asked her straight up, and she said she's the one that started the whole thing by blowing up the big, tank at the front of Terminus. So finally, she manages to get Rick's attention to go back to where she was. And in probably the most emotional scene that you could think of, especially for a first episode, they're reunited with Judith, which was a very touching scene. The whole episode was just phenomenal. It is the best opening episode of this series so far. And, between the action that took place in escaping Terminus, even some sort of and even planting that seed of what happened to these guys at Terminus, because we haven't seen the last of them. And then, seeing Judith with Rick and Carl, everybody's back together. The team is in full force, and they're heading out, and they're going to continue on. And Rick scratches off the Terminus sign, and he puts no, and then on the nose, Sanctuary. And then, in a very unexpected Easter egg for me, because I don't read too many other spoils on this show, I try not to kill it for myself. At the very end of the show, we see a figure come along the sign of Terminus, stops, looks at it, turns back, completely covered with the mask and everything, takes the hood off, takes the mask off, and there's Morgan. And I gotta say, this was a very, very good first episode. Carol was fantastic. MVP of the show, obviously. If not for her, they would not. A one-man show. A one-man show, this one was like Commando. And then to see Rick come out there, and Rick was just doing work. Taking guns, shooting people. Daryl was Daryl. It was just great to see the whole team back together. It was great to see everything action-packed. And then on top of that, a good story set up with what's really going on with the people at Terminus. And then leaving Terminus, getting the reunion with Carol, Tyrese, Judith, the whole crew back together, and then a Morgan cameo at the end. Man, you can't ask for anything better than this first episode. Man, I don't normally rate my shows, you know what I mean? I usually just do my review and I call it a day. But if I had to rate this one, a fucking 10, man. Great opening to the season. Very happy about it. So what do you guys think? How did you feel about the season? This first episode. Was it good? Was it satisfied? Was it everything you expected? Were you let down? I was very satisfied with this episode. It was a great opening to the season, and I'm looking forward to all the episodes to follow. This is Rob signing off for ETN, where we don't do news, we just talk entertainment. Take it easy.
Thank you for watching ETN. Don't forget to comment, share, and subscribe. Join the nation's Facebook page to meet other subscribers or visit ETN's Facebook page and Twitter page. Links for all are in the description. You're watching ETN, where we don't do news, we just talk entertainment. Share and subscribe.
Hey guys, welcome to Entertainment Talk Nation. This is Rob. This video, we're going to do our review for the first episode of Season 5 of The Walking Dead, No Sanctuary. So, first of all, bear with me. I'm recovering from a bit of a bad case of the flu. So if I sound a little different than my other videos, that's why. But, whoa, this has to be probably the best opening episode of this series so far, in my opinion. Very, very well done episode. A lot for one episode. So for those of you who have not seen the episode yet, you do not want to see this video. I am going to spoil this episode rotten. So I just want to give you guys a heads up. So we pretty much pick up from last year. I mean, these guys are trapped in the cart. Carol and Tyrese aren't there yet. But a lot of things, the cogs quickly go into motion right as you get a little hint right in the beginning of what happened with Gareth and his crew at Terminus years ago. And they started off very much like Rick and his crew, to be good people, wanted to help and bring people in until somebody took advantage of the situation and turned them into what they were today. Then it turns into Rick and his group basically getting ready for the doors to open, but obviously you can tell that Gareth and his team are pretty experienced in dealing with